Do you want to win any of these items on your screen? If so, be sure to watch the whole video, leave a like, and comment the hidden message. And with that being said, let's get right into the video. Rappers who blew almost all of their money. When you're rich and powerful, it seems like all the money you have will last forever. Sadly, this isn't the case, and these rappers lost it all. Be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Number 7. TYGA. Here's a case of irony in many ways. TYGA was on the fast track to success, and yes, in many ways. First up, he was a rapper that was getting some attention for his tracks. He was getting featured in the right avenues, and it seemed like he was going to have a bright future ahead of him. This went even higher when he started to date Kylie Jenner, you know, from the Kardashian family. TYGA was even featured in their very popular Keeping Up with the Kardashians series, which you would think would make it all the more clear that his life was destined for greatness. But that's not exactly what happened. Yeah, for a while, his girl Kylie Jenner was slowly on her way to becoming a self-made billionaire, on top of the family wealth that she was a part of. TYGA wasn't really tracking anywhere near that level of fame and wealth, and so his rap career kind of fizzled out. And yet he continued to spend like he was on an infinite bank account, which he technically was with Kylie, but then she dumped him, leaving him with a lot of money issues. Speaking of which, he got sued multiple times because he had rented some high-quality mansions and houses and then stopped paying rent on them while still living in them.
While you wouldn't be able to tell on the surface, TYGA actually struggles his fair share with finances. The trouble is piling on as TYGA is currently being sued. TYGA's landlord, who happens to be Simon Cowell's ex Megan Husseini, is suing TYGA for not paying his $40K rent since January. Whoa.
That's a major failure. No matter which way you look at it, he almost had it all, but he couldn't keep up the lifestyle that he wanted. Number 6. BIRDMAN. When you have a record label called Cash Money, you better be rolling in it. And for a time, BIRDMAN was exactly that, rolling in it. He was a titan behind the brand. He was a producer, the executive, and the guy who would find the hottest new talent in the rap industry, and then make them a name for themselves in the world. It was very much a winning combination, and the label prospered greatly from it. But the singers that were actually a part of the label, well, yeah, there was slightly a different tune behind the scenes. For according to them, while BIRDMAN was getting paid his cuts for their success, they weren't. As reports like this began to grow, many stories began to arise in regards to what was actually going on with BIRDMAN, especially when the newspaper reported that he was being forced to foreclose his multi-million-dollar mansion and an office building that he owned, totaling up to $12 million. And that was just the beginning of it all. It was said that the other stories that BIRDMAN was actually trying to sell off all of his assets in order to try and save his house, but it didn't work out, and he defaulted on a loan. So as you can see, it's really easy to seem like you have it all, but if you're not careful, the only thing you're really gonna have is a house of cards. Number 5. Kanye West. Okay, I'm gonna be perfectly clear here. No, Kanye West isn't broke. Not even close by certain estimates. However, there is no doubt in anyone's mind that when it comes to people who have a very loose grasp on reality and their wallets, Kanye is definitely up there near the top. Let's start with the obvious. He's not exactly a very marketable guy and has nothing to do with the music that he makes. Though his music doesn't really help things, rather it's because his personality that he loses things like sponsorship deals and such. Plus, when he's a businessman, he's made a lot of bad business decisions. By his own admission in 2016, he was about $36 million in debt.
I write this to you, my brothers, while still $53 million in personal debt. Please pray we overcome. Yes, Yeezy owes 53 million DZ.
Because of his fashion line attempts. And while he did make it in eventually, it was a very costly endeavor. And that's not to mention all the other failed attempts that he's made. His successes, like his shoe line, don't exactly because of how his deal was structured, and so in the end he has his music, which isn't as popular as it used to be by a rather large margin. The only real saving grace for Kanye is the fact that he's got a very super rich wife in the form of Kim Kardashian, who was last estimated to have a net worth of about $350 million. And while Kanye is technically valued at $250 million, it's fair to say that this base is all on his assets as a whole. Not exactly all the money that he does have or doesn't. So technically he's not broke, but not as stressed to say that he isn't rich either. Number 4. Bow Wow. You hear a lot about the young rappers of our world and all the money that they make and how that gets them into trouble. But let me tell you about a guy who did all that in the worst way possible. This is a tale about a rapper named Bow Wow. At the age of 13, Bow Wow launched his first single album, and then he would go on to release a bunch of subsequent albums that would go on and make him a lot of fame, a lot of notoriety, and yes, of course, a lot of money. Money that would make many people jealous if we're being completely honest here. This in turn would lead to several chances to do things outside of music, including acting. But in 2012, Bow Wow made a shocking revelation. He was broke. Well, how does that even happen? Quite easily, actually. But it's the details that are the most important here. You see, he was asked to pay child support, and he only claimed that he had $1,500 in his bank account. and that he was only making about $4,000 a month via his records and other music, which for the record would allow him to pay for the child support. But then he signed a deal with BET to make him host one of their shows, and then he was smart enough to make his statement. One thing about me, I'm a smart guy, very smart. Things that I do are for reasons. Things that I don't are for reasons. So for myself, I'm comfortable, very comfortable. For me, it's all about the work. As far as rumors, those are people's opinions. Until you can see me on the corner with a cardboard box saying I'll tap dance for food or canned goods, then you can say that I'm broke. So according to this, he's not exactly broke, but he's not exactly as rich as he was when he bursted into the scene. Yeah. So does that really make Bow Wow? An idiot seems an apt description, don't you think? Number 3, MC Hammer. MC Hammer is a very cautionary tale in the rap world, and it's not necessarily for the reasons that other rappers have become cautionary tales. You see, he didn't pass away in a gruesome way. He didn't commit a long string of crimes, but rather he got famous incredibly fast and was destined to be one of the best in the game for a very long time. And then he wasn't. And yeah, so his hit, You Can't Touch This, is a song that is still sung to this day, and it's not really that hard to understand why, because it's so catchy. It's awesome. However, it's his only #1 hit, and yet, instead of being wise with his money and investments that he got from that track, he just went broke. Yeah, MC Hammer just went and spent about everything he had. Not to mention, there were many lawsuits and other things that happened to him, put him more and more in debt, and so in the end, he basically went broke. While this would have sent many people down a dark path, this didn't really happen to MC Hammer. Instead, he focused on his other business ventures, as well as becoming an ordained minister, and he even went and formed a gospel rap group called Pray, that actually made it to the #2 spot on the Billboard Top 100. That is also one of his most played songs ever. It wasn't always easy though. He spent years trying to fight back against the losses that he took both by his own hands and by the IRS. They came to audit him twice, and that cost him millions the first time and nearly $1 million the second time. The lesson of the story is that if you do get fame, don't blow everything you have because you can't expect it to keep on going. Life is rarely ever that simple. Which brings us to number 2, Lil Kim. There have been many leading ladies when it comes to the rap genre. Currently, there are 2 fighting for the crown of Queen of Rap, but neither Cardi B nor Nicki Minaj would be where they are without the impact of Lil Kim. During her reign on the top, she was a hit singer in terms of sales. She sold over 15 million albums over her career and also had 30 million singles sold. And as if that wasn't enough, she was also the one who pushed the envelope on fashion and inspired many other rappers in terms of their own looks. A trend that honestly continues to this day in some ways. But despite all of that success, she has her own set of failures that led her to being basically broke. And one of the biggest ones is that her former record label sued her for $2.3 million. And if that wasn't enough, she also owed the government $1 million back in taxes. And if there's one group you don't want to mess with, it's the IRS. Owing them $1 million is really, really bad. Now, in all honesty, she did bounce back in certain ways, and she wasn't broke forever. But her situation did cause her to go through some changes that aren't really praised, including going through a body transformation of sorts that honestly makes her look 100% different than what she did back in her early days of rap. So while she's not broke financially, she's technically broke physically, and that's just really just as bad. Number 1, Fat Joe. Fat Joe is another great example of a guy who seemingly had it all and then slowly started to throw it away for all the wrong reasons. For you see, Fat Joe truly made his name by not making his own music, but by starting his own record label. He hired some really big talents to said label, including DJ Khaled, and these signings mixed with his soon-to-be hit songs led him to being very rich for a time. You see, in 2012, he was arrested for tax evasion, and not just for forgetting to pay a little bit of his tax money, but rather for failing to pay about $3 million worth of taxes over the course of 3 years. And at one point during the trial, he could have been in jail for a couple years, but then had a $200,000 fine stacked on top of his other tax debts. Luckily for him, he got off easy, and he only spent about 4 months in jail in 2013 and was only hit with a $15,000 fine. But while he did make it through this somewhat intact, his career both in music and managing music hasn't really been the same since. He struggled to make a comeback, and his name honestly doesn't really carry the same weight as it did before, which should be even more proof to play the game the right way, or else the IRS will come after you. A plethora of rappers who blew most of their money away or had it taken away from them in various ways. So which one do you think was the biggest fool for blowing all of their money as they did? Let me know in the comments down below. Be sure to subscribe, and I'll see you next time on King Trending. A simple reminder on how to enter our brand new giveaway. We will be giving away either an iPhone X Max, the new iPad mini, or a MacBook Pro. It's really your choice. So be sure to leave a like, comment the keyword, subscribe, and turn on notifications to enter the giveaway. It's really that simple. Go for it.